Hi everybody, welcome to The Garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton is behind the camera and the Court of Public Opinion is in session. Lot to talk about. I went to the eye doctor today. Just this is by the by. And you know how they put those drops in your eyes so they can examine them? I still cannot see. So forgive me if I'm not looking at you properly. Anyway, it's all right. It's all in a good cause. Pete, how many people do you reckon go missing in Australia every year?
Well, no, I think I saw it actually. Is it 50,000 or something?
Yeah, it's 56,000.
Yeah.
56,000. That really surprised me. And you know, it's not so much the person who goes missing. Sometimes they go missing intentionally. Other times it's more sinister. But the people, the loved ones who are left behind with all the questions, they leave doors open and places set at the table and clothes in wardrobes and things like that. It's a very significant problem. We'll look into that probably Friday around the dining room table. It's a big problem. 56,000 people every year in Australia go missing. Not exactly a fun fact, ladies and gentlemen. Happy new financial year. Tax cuts and pay rises. 3.75% increase in salaries for most. Now that takes the average wage, they tell me, to $98,000. Sounds good, but is it in fact fuel on the fire of inflation? Which is crazy because the money you get in your pay envelope you have to hand over any increase at the cash register checkout at the supermarket because of the higher prices. I think it is fuel on the fire. More medicines on the PBS, the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, I think that's good. Also, according to Core Logic Research, they do property stuff, real estate throughout Australia appreciated by 8% in the last 12 months. 8%. Which means the average property value is $790,000. Of course, there are many more expensive and there are some cheaper, but that's just the average, the mean. Melbourne is going backwards, actually dropping in value. Perth is the standout, appreciating by 17% in 1 year. Adelaide and Brisbane up 14%. The superannuation guarantee is going up to 11.5%. Now, all of these stats are pushing up, of course, hardly ever pushing down, which is what's causing inflation, one way or another. I'm going to try and get Robert Gottliebson, who we used to talk regularly when he was the head of the Business Review Weekly, and he writes for The Australian now. I'm going to try and get him on the show on Friday to talk about the economy. But speaking of the superannuation guarantee, I'll talk to him about this too. I wonder why they don't use that to control inflation instead of interest rates. You see, that way, the money is not lost to the bank because of your mortgage prices going up, increasing your mortgage repayments. It goes to your super. Slows the economy, does the same thing. We got less money in our pockets, so less money in circulation, because that's what inflation is. It's too much money circulating, too much money chasing too few goods and services. That's its textbook definition is. There'd be a better way to do it. And I'll also try and find out from Robert why we can't claim inflation as a tax deduction. doesn't make any sense that if the money in your pocket is worth less through no fault of your own, I mean, that should be deductible, shouldn't it? It's a cost. Senator Fatma Payman crossing the floor to give support for a Palestinian state. It strikes me that the senator from Western Australia should have known that within the dogma, which is the Labor Party, that there is no freedom of thought. You don't get any freedom of thought with a dogma, be it religious or political or whatever. You can't cross the floor. A well-established tradition in the Labor Party. This lady's very smart. She's good on her feet too. A sharp intellect. She has a lot, however, to thank the party for. She wouldn't be a senator without the Labor Party. I'm surprised that as an Afghani woman, a woman from Afghanistan, she doesn't have a lot more to say and be a lot more interested in the plight of Afghani women. Terrible that in that country, her old country, she would not be 100 miles an hour behind an international effort to free the girls and the women of Afghanistan from Islamic tyranny. And yes, that includes the hijab. And why? I don't know why she wears a hijab. I don't know why she has that badge that she displayed the other day. That badge, it's two flags. One is a Palestinian flag. What that's got to do with Afghanistan, I don't know. One is a Palestinian flag and the other one is an Aboriginal flag. Now, I really think this is disgraceful. She is an Australian senator. I don't see any loyalty or badges promoting Australia. Why do we allow this? We are paying her a generous salary, well over $200,000. She presents herself as a highly principled person. Yet the oppression women suffer in Islamic countries is quite unbelievable and unacceptable in any enlightened society. But this senator is in high dudgeon over Palestine, which doesn't even exist. These people are Gazans. They're from Gaza, the Gaza Strip. Terrible suffering, I know, among these people. But when you consider that 80% of them voted for and support Hamas, it means you support what they did on October 7. You see, you've got to accept the consequences that flow from the behaviour of the people you elect. Just like Germany and Japan in World War II. Population can't run and hide from that. Islam is anti-Semitic. They don't want Israel to exist. Given these people the time of day, let alone a seat in Parliament, I don't know. I just can't understand it. I think it's ridiculous. Anyway, all of this will be very hard to fathom. Labor has decided to ban Fatima from caucus for 1 week, and now 1 week has turned into indefinitely. Well, I suppose the Prime Minister had to do that. But what do you make of it? Maybe talk to me on Friday about it around the dining room table. And while we're on the subject, the United Nations is courting the Taliban. Have you heard this? I find it extraordinary. The Taliban. The United Nations is courting the Taliban. A reprehensible bunch of misogynist, drug-running cutthroats, international criminals. Is this all about giving them a seat or a voice in the United Nations? I don't know. Not a word from the Australian government. Not a word of condemnation. This United Nations thing, I keep on going on about it, I know, but it really is something that the intelligent free world is going to have to deal with. They're trying to set up some sort of one world government where they run the whole shebang. Heaven help us if they do. Oh yes, and yesterday the 28th Governor-General of Australia, Sam Mostyn AC, was sworn in. I was particularly interested in the affirmation of allegiance. The new Governor-General swearing allegiance to King Charles III and all his successors and heirs. Actually, I think it's the other way around, isn't it? All his heirs and successors. So help me God. Now, how can this Republican possibly say all of this before God? I don't understand. Why? She must have had a bit of a cringe or something when she was saying all the words, considering her stance on the Republic and her animosity towards the monarchy. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Bill Hayden, as Governor-General, started out as a Republican and then converted, ended up being a very good Governor-General. But it is, on both sides of politics, jobs for the boys. Pure and simple. Joe Biden's train wreck of a debate. Dear, oh dear. We had John Bruni on the show on Friday morning around the dining room table, and he ducked out from our on-air presentation to have a look at it, and he just texted me back saying, "This is cringeworthy." Couldn't believe how bad it was. Almost universal condemnation of Joe Biden's performance. Personally, I would like to see Joe Biden run for the presidency because the attack on him has been all about his age. Ageism. It's been discrimination based on nothing more than his age. Everyone, including the media, is hot on any kind of discrimination, for heaven's sake, but not so much on age discrimination. And that's everywhere. One could get this from his family, community, the media, government. You know, they kind of treat you like you're deaf or stupid. And sometimes, of course, you are, which is all right. It's human. But the great virtue old people have, or older people have, is that we've been around the block once or twice. Experience. It's a good thing. There's no substitute for experience. But if Joe has come to the end of his very productive life as a public servant, and as we record this on Monday afternoon for Tuesday, it could well be that within hours he will throw the towel in. I don't know. But if he has come to the end of his life as a politician, it probably looks like it. It should end gracefully, with dignity. There is no running for the presidency of the United States if you have no hope of winning. And looking at all the editorials, oh Lord, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Atlanta Constitution, Boston Globe, lots and lots of them all around the country. All of these papers, solidly Democrat, I would suspect. Yet they are solidly telling this man to give it up. A survey conducted over the weekend confirms the obvious. 74% of Americans say Joe Biden is not up to it. which means they won't be voting for him, or perhaps they just won't be voting because voting in America is not compulsory. The Republican campaign has written itself. They will just join up all the footage, which I'm sure they've been collecting, of the stumbles and the gaffes, put them all together and run them extensively as a campaign commercial. He should not have to go through that. The American story is one of courage, diversity, talent, struggle, and achievement. A wonderfully resourceful people. How can it be that in the United States of America they can't produce a better candidate for this upcoming election? People buy the sizzle. They don't buy the steak, they buy the sizzle. When you look back over it, John Kennedy had sizzle. Some of the standout, all of the standout presidents had sizzle. And you had to work the room. Charisma, I don't know what it is, but I know it when I see it. There have to be hundreds at least hundreds of presentable candidates prepared to stand as the Democratic candidate for the presidency. There is, however, truth on both sides of politics in America, and of course in Australia, as well as any country in the world, and that is that a candidate is subjected to the invasive public scrutiny that one gets. When you stand for office, you have to stand there, what? I don't know. Could there be anyone who is without sin, without some sort of blemish or question or controversy that they won't go back, dig up and drag out? There's that wonderful story about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, if I've got time to tell it, Pete. Yeah. He was sitting around playing cards with a group of very distinguished men in London in the day, and the conversation got around to people who were above discretion. They were above any kind of... Their reputation was impeccable. And Sir Arthur said, "Yeah, so you reckon there are people who are simply above any kind of questioning about past history and reputation, scandals, skeletons in the closet?" And he said, "Okay, well, why don't you write 12 names? Put your heads together and put 12 names on a piece of paper. Give me that, and I will show you." And so they did, and they put down on this little piece of paper 12 of the most upright, marvellous citizens of the day in London society. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle took the note away, sent a telegram to each and every one of them, which simply said, "Fly at once. All is discovered." Next morning in London, there was not one of those upright, without blemish citizens in the country. They'd all gone. He made his point. And I don't think that's an apocryphal story. I think that's probably pretty true. There was a time when the media was respectful and intelligent. And believe me, the media is not without sin either. Now it's all about skeletons in closets, sensationalism, got you stories, tabloid journalism, exposés, of course, the old media wrecking ball going through people's reputation and lives. It was a song, I think Johnny O'Keefe sang it. It was called, well, I don't know the words. I remember the words very clearly. "Unless you've made no mistake in your life, be careful of stones that you throw." Who has not made mistakes in his life? I can understand a lot of very good people not wishing to expose themselves and their families to this sort of media circus. So I think what we're left with will be the egomaniacs, the megalomaniacs, the sociopaths. Doesn't really give democracy a very good chance, does it? I'm not saying that people shouldn't stand up to scrutiny and be prepared to be questioned. But I have over the years noticed something terrible, something terribly destructive about the media. I suppose it could be called the tall poppy syndrome, I guess. Maybe. Did I bring my glasses down, Pete?
No, I'm not sure, Jeremy.
Oh, I did, I think, yes. I should keep a separate pair down in the garage. Happy birthday if you're having a birthday. If I've got time for a few dates.
Yes.
July the 2nd, an alligator falls from the sky. 1843. An alligator falls from the sky during a thunderstorm in Charleston, South Carolina. I've heard of raining fish. I've heard of that. One-time Methodist Reformed Church minister William Booth and his wife Catherine Booth found the East London Christian Mission, which is now known the world over as the Salvation Army. 1865 was the year. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan disappear, flying over the Pacific en route to Howland Island. Newland is declared dead the following year. Amelia Earhart declared dead a year after that, 1939. Larry David, the American actor, comedian, screenwriter, Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm, was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1947. Even with the glasses, I can barely read this. That's because of the drops, you see. That's what that is. English engineer Thomas Savery patents the first steam engine. 1698 on this day. You know, coal, they demonise coal, but where would society, where would civilization be without the steam engine? The steam train that opened up so many countries and travelled to the world. Elvis Presley records Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, at the RCA studios in New York City on this day in 1956. James Stewart, American actor. Philadelphia Story, It's a Wonderful Life, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Vertigo. And Harvey. Harvey, my son, is going to star in a local production of Harvey. It's about a rabbit. Have you heard, Pete? No. It's about a rabbit that nobody can see. It's a weird movie. He dies of a pulmonary embolism at the age of 89. He was a brigadier general, you know. He started off in the Second World War as an enlisted man, and he worked his way up to brigadier general, where he stayed even in retirement in the reserves. James Stewart, 1997 he died. Cilla Black records the Lennon and McCartney song, It's For You. Paul McCartney plays piano, in fact, this day, 1964. The Marquis de Sade shouts from the Bastille that prisoners are being slaughtered. 1787 was the year. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Robert Train, of $40,000 at Wagner, Montana, this day in 1901. How much time have I got, Pete?
Well,
Okay. Oh, and we'll just do one more. Anne Peacock's birthday, 1963. God, I got ties older than that. 1963. Anne Peacock's birthday, daughter of Andrew and Susan and Caroline's little sister. 1963. Perhaps one more. Nostradamus, the French astrologer and prophet, soothsayer, fortune teller. 1566. He dies at the age of 62. I'll bet he didn't see that one coming. Thank you very much for being with us. It's no laughing matter.
I've got a feeling you did see it coming, didn't you?
You think? I'm not really all that conversant with Nostradamus, but
I think he's fantastic.
yeah, you can read anything into anything, you know.
Yes, but, okay.
Well,
I'll get into that.
I know he predicted Adolf Hitler in the Second World War. I remember they got the name slightly wrong, but it was one of his predictions.
Well, he mentioned the sarin gas that we used in the Tokyo poisoning, I think.
Yeah.
But the one that interested me was when he said fire on the... It turned out to be New York's latitude.
Yeah.
He predicted fire on that latitude. I wonder whether that was the...
Twin Towers?
Yeah.
Yeah, could have been. I wonder.
He saw aircraft with half hog, half humans, and they...
Oh, I see what you mean.
Before aircraft had been invented,
The oxygen masks on the pilots.
he described half hog, half human. These machines.
Flying.
Okay, I think he's fascinating.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to go. We'll run out of battery. All your patience. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I'll be back with the Court of Public Opinion. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.